Okay, good morning. Let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to count you down. We'll do a descending order 3, 2, 1. You will inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale, and we will get started. We are regulating our emotions as well as sending notifications to the prefrontal cortex and the other brain regions that we are going to be using them today in our morning mental workout. 3, 2, 1. Let's try that again as Nova was making noise. We're going to do those cleansing breaths again. Inhale and exhale. I'll count you down. 3, 2, 1. Coming back in frame. All right. Got it, Regina. I see that you're driving and listening. Today's Real Leader morning mental workout is the 39th principle of real leadership, and it is think positive. And it's 39 in chronological order, chronological sequence. And that's what we'll be discussing today. But allow me to introduce myself. Okay, Lola, I see your message as well. I am Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. And I had to get a new thing because my other one broke, because it will just do that. And so make sure that you have water today. That's the most important thing other than bringing your brain, because of hydration. This is a morning mental workout. And so think positive is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And it came to be because at the time I was writing my book, I was living in Detroit, Michigan. And that's for me, it's not a place that I ever want to live ever again in life. I'd rather live in Mars than to go back to Michigan. Just my own personal experience and not wanting to live there, and quite frankly, ever visit there again. And at that time, things were not going well, and I needed to override. At the time, I didn't know that it was my amygdala, but I needed to override it continually just to get up, go to work, take care of my child, and just exist. And so positive thinking positive was something that I needed to do in order to make it through the day. And now I understand the neurological benefits. And so today we will talk about the brain regions that are used, but additionally, why the 3 top neuroscientific reasons why people avoid thinking positive, the brain-based action steps that you can actually use to strengthen your thinking positive, and then we'll end on my perspective. And so I would like to say that right now, globally, adults don't think positive. They don't. You can have a conversation with somebody and the yeah, but is going to start. Yeah, but then did you know? And then, but did you know? And then, and so it is a infestation, academic, to quote Floyd Mayweather when it was COVID. And that's unfortunate because there are so many things that you can actually think positive for. You can have gratitude for things without thinking someone else has less than you. But just in general, just thinking positive. So right now, and I know some of you are listening and driving, but just think positive. What does that mean for you when I say think positive? What is your brain doing? Where do you go neurologically when you hear think positive? Are you finding it difficult, or can you just automatically do it? Because if I say, what's your name? You're going to automatically tell me what your name is. If I say, how old are you? You're going to say how old you are. When's your birthday? You'll say that. What high school did you go to? Those things will, where do you live? What city do you live in? You'll automatically do that. That's in the hippocampus. It's a habit. It's in the basal ganglia. But if I say think positive, what does your brain do? What does it do? Do you have to pause for a moment and say, think positive about what, Dr. Donna? In what context? Well, what do you mean? Well, there is nothing to think positive about. Well, I gotta really think about it. What am I gonna think about right now? I'm sitting here and you're driving, Regina. It might be traffic in Florida. You done, what do I? It's an interesting concept to just do it because people say think positive without really providing any context or instructions. You just need to think positive. You just need to do it. We don't have a positive thinking class at school. We don't go second grade. Well, we're leaving PE and then we're going to Think Positive 101. We've got the positive thinking teacher. It's not something that we've even been taught, but we've actually been told to do it often without instructions. Buy something today on the internet and try to put it together without instructions, and it'll stay in the box. So if you've never been trained neurologically to think positive, how can you think positive? That's what we're going to find out today. So, what brain regions are involved in thinking positive? The prefrontal cortex is number one, and inside of the prefrontal cortex, you had to pause to access the positive neurons. Yes, but we're told to do it. But if I said, "What is your name?" you wouldn't even pause. You say, "It's Kevin Hook." If I said, "How old are you?" you'd say 52. But this whole concept of this thing that we need to do isn't been taught. It hasn't been taught to us, and it isn't being taught, and we aren't being leveraged to do it. And as a side note, before I continue on, Nola and I were having a conversation, and I said every person, because she has some things that she's working on for her future, and I was like, make sure you include Brain 101. They have to. These athletes need to know about their brains. They need to know about it. And what she brought to my attention was you can't even take a neuroscience class in theory until you have a bachelor's degree. Now that's stupid because you're using your brain to get the bachelor's degree, but to take neuroscience, you can't get the neuroscience to learn about the brain until after you get your degree. But would it help if you already knew about your brain? Then you'd be able to get the degree because then you'd be able to do it better. So just a side note, like why? Well, you need your brain in elementary school. It's developing. Then why are we talking about the brain in elementary school while it's developing? We talking about hands, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Nobody says brain, but you need your brain to sing that song. You need your brain with the hippocampus to memorize the alphabet and the numbers and multiplication tables and all of that. If you are, and Regina was an elementary school teacher, so if you could say, okay, in order to remember your times tables, we got to go in the hippocampus library. Where is the hippocampus library? Let's look at our brain chart. Wouldn't that be better with Miss Rachel and all of them? And Dora, instead of saying the map, say the brain? Be better. It definitely would be better. So that's what I'm working on. Close the gap so it can be everywhere. Brains everywhere. Brains everywhere. That would be beautiful. So in positive thinking, you need your prefrontal cortex. And the first part of the prefrontal cortex is you need the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex because it directs attentions towards positive stimuli. It reframes negative thoughts and it supports goal-directed optimism. So you're going to have to be optimistic to think positive. You can't be pessimistic and think positive. They don't go together at all. Next, you're going to need your ventromedial prefrontal cortex because it integrates positive emotions into decision making and it helps regulate stress hormones, stress responses. And then the medial prefrontal cortex connects self reflection with positive self belief, reinforcing confidence and resilience. Believe in yourself is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. If you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to be able to think positive because people are going to be using external anxiety to tell you what's wrong and tell you what you need to think and tell you what you need to believe. And that's what you're going to do. So if you're going to think positive, you got to believe in yourself. You got to be optimistic and you have to train the brain to think positive in the prefrontal cortex. Next is the ACC, and it monitors conflict between negative and positive thoughts. Right now, Amy and Lala are cutting the fool for me. They are trying their best to get me to just start watching some shit on a screen that has nothing to do with me and not going to bode well for me. They are creating all kind of situations that are creating all kind of discomfort for me so that I will go to that thing to provide me comfort, even though I don't even really like watching stuff on screens anyway. But the programming says you feel bad, just go get you some bonbons, curl up with a blanket and go Netflix and chill. That's what you need to do right now. And I'm like, I'm listening to this Tibetan music. And as Kevin found out yesterday, yes, I am listening to that and working in the background. That's in the background and I'm listening to it. So you can understand that it is very challenging for me to listen to that, to stay awake and to stay focused, but I am going to quiet these two amygdalae down. They are not going to continue to bother me. So the ACC plays a major role in shifting focus away from rumination towards more constructive, positive perspectives. And because I don't have any recollection of Tibetan music, it can't ruminate. It has no frame of reference for this. It can't remind me of a time when it literally has to sit there and suffer and not get what it wants. So I am starving them, training them that you will not dictate what I do on a daily basis. Next is the amygdala regulation. And so it's often associated with fear, threat detection, but under prefrontal cortex regulation, it is calmed and rewired to respond less reactively. And that is what I am doing with that Tibetan music is I am saying, you are not going to react. You are not going to react. I don't care what is taking place. You're going to be cool as the other side of the pillow. And so positive thinking reduces hyperactivation in the amygdala, lowering stress and anxiety. That is what causes negative thinking. Next is the hippocampus, and it stores and recalls positive memories, which reinforces optimism, expectations, and for the future. And it connects emotional experiences with learning, helping to build positive reference points for real leaders. So, what you are doing when negative shit is happening all around you, you have done your meditation, you have done your breathing, you got this strong, super swole prefrontal cortex, this nice little regulated amygdala. And so when shit pops off, you are good to go. You are thinking, okay, I'm going to be extremely calm. What is taking place? You're going to be objective and you're going to be fair. You're going to base all your decision making on the facts. And you're not going to be walking around screaming and hollering like Animal off of the Muppets, just doing all kind of crazy stuff. That's not what's going to happen for you. And because you have a regulated emotional center, the hippocampus is going to remind you, well, the last time something happened like this or something similar happened to this to you in 1972. And this is what you did then, and this is what you're going to do now. And so part of the reason why people can't think positive is because not only is there negativity everywhere, but you don't have things anchoring you to the rest of your day. So no matter what takes place in the previous day, I got to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I got to be live at 5:30 in the morning to 6:30, 6:45. And then I have to take a shower some Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I got to exfoliate. Monday, I got to shave my head. And then I have a book to read. I have to prepare for a live. I have to post on social media. I got 3 broadcast channels that I'm using on Instagram. I have 2 subscriptions that I'm building through beta testing on TikTok and Instagram. I got YouTube videos that I need to do. I have to, this atrophied ass raggedy body of mine, got to somehow stretch enough for it to start working. And potentially there are appointments with my daughter. I need to cook dinner and potentially take a nap. And that's every day. So I have times throughout the day that are anchoring me back to, okay, you can't be ruminating over there because you got to go back and do this thing. Somebody answered the prompt and now you got to answer that question. So everything that I actually do that I'm 100% in control of is positive. It is helping others. It is empowering others. It is leading by example. So I don't really have time baked into my day to be negative long term. Some negative shit pop off. I got 15 minutes. Okay, what's happening? All right, bet. And now I'm minimizing that rumination time to say, I don't have time for this because this doesn't benefit my brain. That's part of the reason why you can start to begin to think positive all of the time that you are awake. You will then dream positive because you're going to ask yourself, does this benefit my brain? And the hippocampus is going to remind you, we only remember good things. And it's not a matter of, oh, I'm going to be naive and nothing bad is going to happen. No, things that don't necessarily benefit us initially are going to take place because there are 6 billion unaccountable adults in the world. So shit's going to happen. But it's how you respond to what is taking place. If something is taking place in Bangladesh, in a well system, in a small town in Bangladesh, that has nothing to do with you. And so no matter how much the news says this is a big deal, you can't get there. Some of you might have to look at a map to see where it is, and it could be one small well that broke in a neighborhood and the neighbors came together to help that person fix it. But the story is there is a well water problem in Bangladesh on the news. If it bleeds, it reads. If it leads. And now you're like, oh my God, it was a water shortage. What are they going to do in Bangladesh? Did you hear about it? And then the neighbors had to come. Oh, it was terrible. And then it was crying and everything on the news. And it was small. And Mark Twain said, small things can be made good, made huge with enough marketing and advertising. And so now everything is an atrocity. If everything is a big deal, then nothing is a big deal. So do not allow these external anxiety stimuli to absorb them like you are a sponge and cause you to have you rethinking your whole life because IBM ran out of red inkjet printers for one company, because that's how insignificant it ends up being. Now, the insula is the next brain region, and it's integrated into the body's signal, like calming, breathing, or gratitude practices with emotional awareness. And it helps leaders sense the uplifting impact of positive thinking in the body, strengthening the mind, body, and connection. When you recall a positive memory, your insula is saying, man, that was good. We like that. Yep, I feel great. I feel wonderful. This is awesome. And then if you doom scroll or you come in contact with somebody that's negative, negative Nancy and negative I don't even know a man's name with an N right now, Nelson, negative Nelson. Now you got to practice how you feel. That's why that insula is so important, because it's the gut brain telling you, yeah, I ain't really feeling them. Something about them, I just don't. Here they come. Now I'm going in the other direction, and that's what you have to do, because the insula is going to say, we like that, do that. Well, don't do that no more. That's bad. And then finally, the basal ganglia in the reward circuits. So the nucleus accumbens releases dopamine when leaders focus on positive outcome, and it reinforces thinking positive as a rewarding habit loop, and it often causes you to have more repetition of it. So you can either have a negativity loop and you just keep getting more negativity, cortisol, or you can have a positive loop and you're just getting dopamine, natural dopamine, because it's your own personal positive thinking that's getting you there, and you don't need anybody else to create it for you. So in summary, thinking positive recruits the prefrontal cortex for reframing optimism, the ACC for focus, the hippocampus for memory, the insula for awareness, the basal ganglia, and the reward circuits for empowerment, and while calming the amygdala. So the whole point is calm the amygdala. Operation Calm the Amygdala. Operation Calm the Amygdala, because this creates a balanced brain state that wires resilience, enhances leadership and clarity, and supports real leader behavior. So I'm going to ask you this question, and I know some of you are not accessible to typing this in, but for those of you who have access to your keyboard safely, my question to you is, on an average day, on a scale of 1 to 10, really 0, from 0 to 10, 0 meaning you don't think positive at all, and 10 meaning you think positive throughout your whole day, where are you at on the think positive scale? 0 meaning nope, 10 meaning every day, all day, that's what I do, or you're somewhere in between. That's still hot. And remember, ... a brain, an ellipse or something, so that I know that you are thinking. So the question is, on average, daily, 0 to 10. All right, Kevin, you pulled out your inner nerd with your 7.675. My answer is 8.33333, repeating. And currently, because Amy and Lala are acting like damn fools, they are popping off. Let me tell you, when you try to regulate them to the point where they are just like trained pets, cha-cha, sit down, and they just, it's an interesting path that I am on. And my amazing offspring says 6. Thank you for your honest responses. So here are the top 3 neuroscience regions why people avoid positive thinking. And number 1, winner, chicken dinner on the list, is the amygdala hijacking and the threat bias. So the amygdala is wired for survival and scans constantly for danger. I'm going to say that again. The amygdala is wired for survival and scans constantly for danger. Negative information gets prioritized. That's negativity bias, because it once kept us alive. And when the amygdala is overactive, It hijacks attention, making it harder to shift towards positive thoughts. That is the problem. So the amygdala is looking for threats because it is looking for danger, because it is saying, I got to protect us. Little bitty me, you got to protect us. Let me go and find the danger today. And so anything that's negative gets prioritized. So the water well in Bangladesh and the one neighborhood with the one neighbor becomes a priority because it sensed danger. Excuse me. It sensed danger. And now that is what's going to become the priority. And it's going to get all of your attention, making it harder for you to shift back to positive thoughts. So if you have a day that's not in a structured format, and so it just depends. I'm just going to go with the flow today. And now you hear about the well water in Bangladesh at somebody's house. Now that's going to become a priority. So now every time you turn your faucet on, you're going to be like, oh my God, well, I wonder is the parasites in our water. And now you're going to call the water company. Hey, listen, Las Vegas Valley Water District, what's going on with this water? I saw a parasite in my water. You can't say, I saw a parasite in my water and I just want to understand. And I'm looking here on my water bill and I want to understand what this thing is. Now, Las Vegas Valley Water District sends out an annual water report every year. I'm probably the only person in all of Las Vegas that reads the entire water report that tells you if they are in specs, what's happening with it, if you have osmosis, if you don't, what you need to do, filtration system and all of that. I'm on it because I had to live on the Rock Air Force Base with badass water and I had kidney stones in Alabama. So if you're going to send me a report on the water, I'm reading that bad boy. But no, you're worried about the person in Bangladesh, and now your whole day has been thrown off because you turned the damn news on and looked at all of this doom scrolling. Everybody's like, no, but the news is informative. No, it's not. The news stopped being informative when Walter Cronkite and Barbara Walters stopped being anchors. And it started, if it bleeds, it leads. And it went into entertainment. And now everything, you'll hear all this negative shit, and then at the end of the newscast, they'll talk about and show you some puppies, or somebody got adopted, or somebody had a birthday. They're 109 years old. Look at this, the oldest person in the world. But they just spent 29 minutes talking shit. And then they're going to say, and on a happy note, here's Jim, and he's 109 years old. Go ahead and wave to the camera, Jim. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I will be back in 2 hours to give you some more shit show negativity so you can feel like crap all day. I'm Dr. Donna, and this is ABC News. I'll see you later. And then you, 2 hours later, go ahead. You got to watch it at 8. You got to watch Good Morning America. You got to watch Today Show. You got to watch all of that. Then you got to watch the 11 o'clock news in the afternoon, the 12 o'clock news. And now they got that shit at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you got to watch the nightly news at 11 o'clock just to make sure you create that negativity loop. And then they throw a little bit of other stuff in there, and you gotta have the serious person. Oh my God, what's going on with the weather? Well, we got that thunderstorm coming. It's turning into Tropical Storm Charlie, and it's on the East Coast, and blah, blah, blah. And now it made landfall. And now you panicked. We live on the West Coast. I live in the desert, and they're like, that tropical storm in Virginia. We live in the desert. If anything, we got it. We don't have enough water. But okay, got it. Tropical Storm Charlie is in Virginia. Do I need to worry about it? And FEMA, they don't know if the FEMA is getting there in time. You know that, and 47, and he gets it, all that. And now you go try to do what? Nothing, because the amygdala has already hijacked it. So you were supposed to write your book, you were supposed to post on social media, you were supposed to work on your business plan, and you can't do none of that because there's Tropical Storm Charlie and bad water parasites in Bangladesh. So that's what happened. And that's what's happening every day. As you watch it, football season is in. People won't be pissed from now till fucking February because some children and some young adults didn't help them with their parlay. That's what's going to happen. So number 2 is the prefrontal cortex, fatigue and cognitive load. So the prefrontal cortex is responsible for reframing, optimism, and self-control. You over here panicking about the parasites, water in Bangladesh. Now you checking, you got a magnifying glass. You on Amazon trying to order all kind of Brita filters and everything else. And there is no optimism. You're not thinking of rationally at all. And so when it's overloaded with stress, decision-making, or multitasking, the prefrontal cortex tires and the brain defaults to automatic negative loops. And then this makes thinking positive feel like extra effort, and the brain avoids it under strain. So you just like, the world is coming to an end. This damn water and Tropical Storm Charlie, fuck it. I'm gonna just Netflix and chill. I'm just about to go order some food, have Grubhub deliver it, and that's it. I'm gonna get on the phone. But did you hear about the water in Bangladesh? And now you're negativity bonding. So now you're gonna call somebody else, and they're like, yeah, but did you see on Fox News what they said about such and such? And you're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and you ain't accomplished a damn thing, and you weakened your prefrontal cortex, and now your doggone amygdala is on creatine. Number 3 is hippocampal memory encoding of negative events. And now you're going to cement it. And now you're creating negativity volumes of books for the memory library in the hippocampus. And so the hippocampus stores emotionally charged memories more strongly when linked to fear and stress. So you got 5 sections in your hippocampus library of fear and stress, and you got 1 row of positive books in the whole hippocampus library. And so if negative experience dominate memory recall, the brain builds a default narrative of caution, doubt, and pessimism. And then this makes positive thinking feel unnatural. So because the neural pathways for negativity bias are more frequently rehearsed, I can't tell you the amount of times that I have come across people and they're like, you always happy. Why are you so damn happy? It ain't, did you know what's happening? And they got Bangladesh, got parasites in the water, and your ass is over here smiling and shit. Always happy. Was she happy? Was she laughing? She always trying to make somebody feel good. I don't trust nobody that's always happy. Like, how you gonna always be positive? Like, you don't like nothing negative don't bother you? I don't trust it. I don't trust it. That just ain't natural. How you just gonna be happy? You ain't got nothing to be happy about. You a black woman from Detroit. You divorced. You ain't dated in years. How the fuck you gonna be happy? When the last time you went on an activity? None of those things excite me anymore, but that's what happens. So feeling positive is unnatural. And when you attempt to be positive around a bunch of negative people, they get mad at you for being positive. Not the room for you. So in short, people avoid thinking positive because the amygdala prioritizes threats. The prefrontal cortex get fatigued under stress, and the hippocampus encodes negative memories more strongly. So together, these keep the brain locked into negative loops unless consciously rewired. And so I'm going to use my future peers as the example. Neuroscientists look for disease problems in the brain, and they're also looking at how to mirror the brain, so that's why they created AI. Psychiatrists are looking for cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs people, and they are giving you medication. They are legalized drug dealers to make you stay balanced and numb and woosah. And then you have the psychologists that are there to help you with your mental health issues that you have so that you can go to therapy. And they have been doing this shit for hundreds of years. And at no point have they said, how can we just want to get everybody to normal? We just want to get everybody to normal. If you want to get everybody to normal, why are you still focusing on what the fuck is wrong? Why don't you study normal and best? Why don't you study that? Because why is normal it? You can't get past that. You got 86 billion neurons, but we just want everybody to be normal. How bland and vanilla bean is that? Well, vanilla without the vanilla bean. How bland is that? So the people who are responsible for learning about the brain, teaching us about the brain, and making us be able to change the brain are wired for negativity bias too. Here's the problem with this. And if you have your vagus nerve, and then let me tell you what's wrong with the ACC. And here's how you can get those doggone neurotransmitters, and you're going to increase that dopamine loop, but not too much, because I want you to still come back next week and need me. So I'm going to give you enough for you to be functioning, but not high functioning, because then that means I got to go get some more clients. So let me make you not sick, but don't let me make you well either. And we keep looking at Alzheimer's. I'm like, from the time somebody is born until they get to Alzheimer's, there are thousands of days in between. Why are we not paying attention to those 1,000 days? Because the people who are responsible for studying the brain got negativity bias too. They think just as negative as everybody else. They're telling you to have emotional regulation, and they don't have emotional regulation. We're still talking about the disease brain ad nauseum. We're still talking about, we've discovered new mental illnesses. Why we ain't discovered mental healthnesses? Where those at? Where are when you have a strong prefrontal cortex, it's called bad mofo-itis. That's what it's called. It's called I'm a bad mofo. How do you become a bad mofo? Just increase your prefrontal cortex. Strengthen that. Prefrontal cortex on swole, walking in. What's this? This is what a strong prefrontal cortex looks like. There are no drawings for that. We tell you what it is, and then we say, yes, but negativity bias. I know, we're going to make some supplements. You're going to take some pills and increase it. Nobody is saying just learn something more, and you're going to have more hippocampus release of neurons. And now you can go and learn and be better, because they're not even going to the hippocampus banking neurons and making withdrawals. They over here studying lab rats, doggone feeding them popcorn to see what happens if you have too much salt in the brain, because here go another fucking disease for Big Pharma to feed you some more medication with some more fucking brain neurological side effects. That's what's taking place. And that's why every time you wake up doom scrolling, even if you try to watch a positive program, there's a negative spin underneath it. There is this programming that takes place because we're wired for negativity bias. So that is why no matter what you're trying to do, if you participate in any way, your prefrontal cortex has to be extremely strong, or you're going to find yourself on the phone with the water department asking about the parasites because there was a parasite in one person's well in Bangladesh. That's what's going to take place. So be honest. Do you find yourself experiencing external anxiety where you have absorbed somebody else's negativity bias and it has stopped you from forward progression? The question is, that's a yes or no question. Have you found yourself minding your own business, stumble across something, and now the sky is falling? Yes, I'm gonna answer for myself. Yes. Are y'all there? Do I need to come and see the chat from? So are y'all thinking? Remember, ellipse, brain, thinking emoji. So again, program your brain to type ... ellipse, because if we were in the same room, I could see you thinking. Okay, so have no fear, Dr. Donna, PFC, because that's prefrontal cortex, or yeah, private first class too. That's why I used to be a private first class in the Army. Anyway, I am here. So yes, that's the problem, but don't worry, because I got a solution for y'all. So here are the top 3 brain-based action steps to counter the reasons people avoid thinking positives. So real leaders can rewire the brain towards optimism and resilience. Number 1, you're going to counter the amygdala hijack with regulation routines. You're going to counter it. I see you coming. Doggone hijack the amygdala. Wait a minute. Let me I'm going to duck and move and bob. So what you're going to do is you're going to practice slow, deep breathing. 4 to 6 breaths per minute. Or mindfulness for 2 to 3 minutes. And there are breathing apps that you can download. And I promise you, if you have not downloaded a breathing app, you don't have a channel that you're working on, you ain't never getting to emotional regulation. It's not going to happen. Yeah, I don't need that shit. That thing is for weak folk over here. I don't have to use. Okay. Your doggone amygdala is going to take over, and because you think breathing ain't important. And so the brain impact is that it activates the prefrontal cortex amygdala loop, calming overactive threat responses. Because as soon as something pop up, bam! Right? And you're like, whoo, shit. Oh my goodness, what was that? Amygdala is going to send a notification. The ACC is going to be like, ooh, dang it. Hippocampus is going to remind you that was a loud noise. And next thing you know, you're going to be standing there with your katana like, what the fuck was that? Right? So that's why you need breathing. So y'all can say, Dr. Donna just said, bam, that's all, we good. Calm down. She just gave a little bit of excitability for emotion to prove a point. And the result is it creates space for positive thinking to surface instead of being drowned out by fear. As soon as the amygdala is afraid, it sends cortisol. It weakens the hippocampus. It finds its way to the prefrontal cortex. Executive function shuts down. And the amygdala is like, party. What? Come on, left amygdala, start getting them to worry. Send some shit for them to worry about. ACC is like, ooh, you ain't worried. Wait a minute. Amp it up. ACC is like, come on in. Party over here. Worry over here, anxiety over here. Yeah, we got this prefrontal cortex in a chokehold. Look at him over there in the corner crying. That's what's happening because you've decided that a breathing app isn't necessary. Number 2, get the breathing app, number 1. And then you're going to strengthen all this. Listen to some Tibetan music. They're going to be mad as hell. They're going to calm all the way down. No frame of reference. Number 2, strengthen the prefrontal cortex with cognitive reframing. So write down one negative thought, then intentionally reframe it into 2 possible outcomes, possible positive outcomes. Take one negative thought. Bad water in Bangladesh. Man, now let me turn that around. I, number one, don't live in Bangladesh. Number two, Las Vegas Valley Water District sends me the report. So I just go grab the report and see what's happening and see if that parasite has been tested in our water. If not, get on the phone, call them and say, hey, what y'all doing about this parasite? And they're very good about answering those types of questions. So next, brain impact. This engages the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and builds synaptic strength for optimism and problem solving. Now, I'm going to say this again. You got to build synaptic strength for optimism. We are hardwired for negativity bias, and you did not come here with any positive neural pathways for optimism. It's not happening. Not happening at all. And I know you say, well, what about children? It is not inside of them. Because as soon as something goes wrong with a child, guess what happens? Take their toy. They acting like a fool. Fight with a friend. Give me that toy. No, just look at 2.5-year-olds. So they would say, oh, you can have a toy. I play with another one. No, it's give me my toy. So that's how you know they're not optimistic about they can get another toy. That's not happening. And so the result is that this reduces cognitive fatigue and it makes thinking positive a trained default rather than an effortful choice. So thinking positive is going to create cognitive overload initially because you don't have the neural pathway. So you're going to have to go to the hippocampal bank of neurons and say, hey, I'm trying to think positive. I'm going to need about, maybe give me about 100 million neurons for me to get this party started. And now you're going to have to fire and wire. That means you're going to have to block out all things that are negative. Me, no screen time. Absolutely none. You can't feed the negativity because it's going to be like that plant on Little Shop of Horrors. It's going to have to keep feeding it. It's going to want more and more. And it is addicted to the negative bias and the dopamine. So nope, you're not getting none of that. I'm going to go over here and read a book. I'm going to go over here and take a nap. Every time you say something negative, I'm going to find 2 ways to turn that into a positive. And that's going to create cognitive overload. But then the neurons are going to fire and wire. Synaptic connections are going to have a natural release of the neurotransmitter dopamine. And then you're going to get that neural pathway. And every day, every time you see something negative, you're going to give 2 positives for that negative. And you're going to knock it out over time. And as Kevin and I researched, 8 days, it starts that neural pathway. And by the 22nd day, it's there. But it's your responsibility to keep strengthening. And so number 1, again, is that you got to counter hijack the amygdala with your breathing. Number 2, every time you think of something negative, you got 2 positives to reframe it. And then number 3, you're going to rewire the hippocampus with gratitude recall. And so at the end of the day, you're going to recall 3 positive moments, big or small, and then visualize them vividly. The brain impact is that it's going to boost hippocampal encoding of positive memories, balancing out the natural negativity bias. And the result is it's going to build a library of positive mental references that real leaders can draw on in stressful times. That's what you have to be able to do. When shit hits the fan, you got to go to your shit hits the fan section in the hippocampus library, the memory library, and say, all right, what did I do? What kind of shit is this hitting the fan? Okay, cool. What did I do in 1992 when a similar situation did that? How did I respond to that? And that is what keeps you thinking positive. So the summary, in order for you to counteract 3 reasons why people don't think positive, is that you're going to calm the amygdala with regulation routines. And that's what I said. When you have things that anchor you back to your day, things that actually increase your prefrontal cortex strength, you don't have time for the amygdala to be hijacking you because you have to prepare for a live. You have to read. You're in a 30-day challenge. You got to listen to the PA. You're using real leader resources. You got to get work done. So you don't have time for this bullshit and this nonsense. And oh, by the way, it got to be turned in by 8 o'clock or you might have to start over. Next, 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Next, you train the prefrontal cortex through reframing practices. So that one negative thing is going to get 2 positive reframes. And then you're going to rewire the hippocampus and you're just going to have gratitude recall. So what questions do you have, thoughts, perspectives on what I'm saying? So yes, negativity bias is out there. Yes, there are almost 6 billion adults waking up every day looking for a threat, and they're not going to stop until they find their threat. And then they're going to harp on that threat. They're going to ruminate on that threat, and the amygdala is going to be right. See, I told y'all something is wrong with the water globally because of this parasite in this one well water in Bangladesh. So that's what's going to happen. And it's going to happen again and again all day long. And that's why people can't accomplish anything. And that's why it feels like, dang, these challenges be taking up a bunch of my time. Yep. Yep, they do. They take up a bunch of your time on purpose because what was you going to be doing with that time? What was you going to be doing? Ruminating, letting the right and left amygdala go look for a threat. I tell you what you can't do. You can't be in Real Leader Resources and go look for a threat at the same time. You can't be reading for 15 minutes, watching the doggone Real Leader Brain, doing things for your business, whatever your other extracurricular is attached to it, and typing that all up and assessing and having takeaways and turning that in and looking for a threat at the same time. It's impossible. Think of all of the real leadership programs as after school activities. When you lived in the hood, I'm going to the Y, I'm going to the Boys and Girls Club because I don't want to get no trouble. So that's what it's designed to do. Now y'all know. That's why it seems like, man, this is really taking up a lot of my time. Yep, it is. The lives are taking up. Damn, she wants us to be on the live, and then she got to doing resources, and she got to do. Yep. Because your brain is wiring itself for this benefits my brain. I like how this makes me feel. I'm getting stronger with my prefrontal cortex. So why on earth would I stop what I'm doing to go to amygdala hijacking? If somebody literally if the news said, we are about to hijack your amygdala for the next 2 hours, would you say, oh, okay, cool. Let me see what they're about to say. You wouldn't. But they slick with it. It's like a pimp at the bus terminal picking up their next new little bottom chick. Hey, you know what I'm saying? How you doing, Redbone? Yeah, I'm going to take you to a place you never seen before. They're like, oh, this is terrible. This is an atrocity. Look at what's happening over here. And they have no new kimchi huts in South Korea. They're building buildings instead of kimchi huts. This is an atrocity. Yes. Oh, my God, it's terrible. Did you hear what they're doing? They tearing down all those old kimchi huts with asbestos in it and building new buildings. And now those people going to have to work in air-conditioned buildings with running water and shit. It's a shame. That's part of history and culture. And now you over here mad, not realizing the buildings is raggedy as hell with non-potable water. But they presented to you as this is a problem. And you over there like, yep. Nola says, so negativity bias is why you aren't positive, because it's looking for something negative all day long. It's waking up looking for a threat, because that's what we had to do back in the caveman days. And it never stopped. So we is the saber-toothed tigers, as I have said numerous times. And people are waking up for you to be afraid. So they're feeding your fear. They're like, oh shit, what we need to worry about today? What's the problem today? And this is what's wrong. But no solution. There is no, and the solution is always they need to. They need to. You want to know why that's the solution? Because that creates more rumination, because we haven't really identified that. The left needs to, the right, the Democrats, the Republicans, the leftists, the liberals, the black folks, the white folks, the brown folks, the yellow folks, the purple folks, the pink folks, the polka dot folks. Because that's not really an action. That's not. So then you wake up tomorrow and say, why the brown folks didn't fix that? Why the white folks didn't fix that? Why? Because when I worked at Frito-Lay and we had meetings, we had action items, someone's name went by that action item and what they actually needed to do by when went through that. But I've been here 52 years and they is always the answer. They, an institution, the government, the Department of Education, or some institution that's just a fucking building sitting somewhere, need to solve it. They the saber-toothed tiger. They are the Tyrannosaurus Rex. They are the warthog coming after us. They are the person who's not like me and I don't like them, so they are the problem. And every adult wakes up every day ensuring that their whole amygdala is being protected. You're threatening my amygdala, so I have to do self-preservation. If I give you some of what I have, now you're going to have what I have, and I don't want you to have what I have, so I got to make sure you can't have what I have, because then we will be equal. Because we can't be equal, because we ain't equal, even though we all human beings. So negativity bias, yes, it wakes up every day seeking some type of feeding. It's looking for some negativity. It's looking for a threat. And then when it gets it, it notifies the left amygdala. See, there's the threat. Now go ahead and start ruminating. Go ahead and tell the ACC so the ACC can notify the prefrontal cortex that we found the thing we need to worry about. And today we got 10 things we need to worry about. And we ain't got time for no fucking positive thinking. They have a parasite in some water, well water in a neighborhood in Bangladesh. How the fuck are you going to be thinking positive right now? That's how it works. And you just keep feeding it. And you got enough people telling you over here thinking positive. How dare you? What you so damn happy for? Because the shit that y'all manufacture something. If it ain't something wrong, y'all gonna find something wrong. So what is Dr. Donna's perspective on thinking positive? I'm glad you asked, Nola. And I'm blending it with neuroscience and real leadership. Thinking positive isn't about ignoring reality. It's about training the brain to see possibilities, not just problems. Real leaders understand that optimism is not denial. I'm not denying that that well water in Bangladesh might have a parasite in it. But what I am doing is deliberately neural wiring. When you choose to focus on solutions, gratitude, and growth, you're strengthening your prefrontal cortex. You're calming your amygdala and you're building your hippocampal libraries of hope. That's what you're doing when you think positive. I'm going to say that again. When you choose to focus on solutions, gratitude, and growth, you strengthen your prefrontal cortex. You calm your amygdala and you build hippocampal libraries of hope. A real leader thinks positive because positivity is not naive. It's neural leadership in action. It fuels resilience, inspires others, and it creates brain states where creativity, empathy, and wise decision making flourish. So, negative thinking is easy. Positive thinking is training, and real leaders do the training. So, you have to wire your brain to think positive. And you have to do it every day, all day long, because there are almost 6 billion adults not doing it. It's simple to wake up every morning and look for the threat. It's going to be there because someone else is creating a threat for you. That's easy. But to say, this is not a threat, I'm going to reframe everything that is taking place, and none of this is actually happening for me neurologically. It's not happening for me, even if you think it is. When I was at Frito-Lay and I left Michigan, Sue Brewster took over for Janice Kasanovich, and she was a horrible, awful, terrible boss. Terrible. And everybody in Michigan was from Michigan, and they were like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I said, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Heather and I were in Canada conducting the CIMT, and we were having dinner, and she was saying, well, we just got to wait it out. And I said, I'm leaving. That was May. I was in Alabama in July with a new job. Y'all can stay in this bullshit. I'm not staying. I don't care how this story ends. I won't be here for the end, but I'm not putting up with it. I'm not taking it. I'm not saying this is what you have to do. I'm leaving and I'm going to a better situation. It wasn't a better situation, but that led me to leaving the corporate job, and I've been gone for 15 years. So I'm not going to put up with it. I'm not about to sit and ruminate. I'm going to have a solution. I'm going to be in a better situation, and I'm going to move and grow forward. I'm going to have a positive, peaceful existence. I'm not sticking around for it. Negative people got you thinking that you got to take it. Why? You got to take it because you don't have enough neural pathways and cognition to get your ass out of that situation. That's not my reality. I know I'm going to the hippocampus bank of neurons, and I'm gonna make a withdrawal, and then I'm gonna go my way out of this. But I'm not going to be a part of this negativity bias, which is why I don't say I'm black anymore. Because once I realized that it was a color and it was a system and the history of racism, and I got my DNA, I'm like, but my ancestry, I know who I'm. Levi Thomas' great granddaughter. That's what's going on. So no, I will not be saying I'm a color. I will not be referring to myself based upon a complexion. My complexion is basically, I think it's 60% of the world globally has my complexion. Black, where? Fuck is you talking about a color? I am from the Africas, okay? And got a little Welsh in me too. I might just go ahead and go to Buckingham Palace and say, what up, cuz? That's what's happening. So this negativity bias got everybody not thinking. Got everybody's amygdala hijacked. Got everybody filled with cortisol. And that's why we can't grow forward. Because we still not united we stand, divided we fall. We ain't tighter than pantyhose, two sides are small. We just divided because everybody is seeking self. Created all these unsafe conditions and then start pointing the finger elsewhere. Not me. No, we over here doing, they did it. They started it. They started. Y'all all started it. Everybody's complicit. Everybody is, because it takes effort to think positive, because you're going to have to reframe everything that you see. You're going to have to grow. You're going to have to change. You're going to have to create your own synaptic connections and neural pathways to positivity. And that shit is hard to tell when you've been living in a hijacked amygdala state for your entire life. And it don't matter if you're 15 or 95. The brain is still braining. If it's negative, it's negative. And it's going to take effort to become positive. And you can't just think your way to positive. You got to create neural pathways. As Kevin mentioned, I had to think about it for a second when you said think positive. Why? Because it's not being taught anywhere. Fight or flight is being taught. Survival of the fittest. It's not the fittest. It's survival of the strongest, stupid ass amygdalas. That's who's thriving and surviving. But the good part about the amygdala is never satisfied. And the amygdala is never happy. Once you give it negativity, it feeds off of negativity. So even the people who appear to be in positions of power and authority, that's why the shit is going left for them too, because the amygdala is not the prefrontal cortex. It does not have rational thought. It does not have cognition. It doesn't have cognitive flexibility. The working memory is not going to be strengthened. That's why we keep seeing the same shit getting repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated, because the amygdala is on repeat and it just keeps reminding the hippocampus of old shit. That's why we back with all this shit from the 90s and everything else, because can't nobody think of nothing new. That's it. We don't have no inventors. Anybody that's done a daily challenge with me, people were inventing a bunch of shit back in the day, long time ago. Now we just got technology. Every time we turn around, technology. We ain't invented nothing else new but materials, inanimate objects. People old as Methuselah, and we still the fucking same because of negativity bias. So we just gonna get AI to do shit for us because we can't deal with actual human brains. It takes too long for a human brain to rewire itself. So let's just get AI to do it because the people can't. That's where we are. So what questions, if any, do you have about Think Positive? I'm getting ready to talk about the trained brain, and then we're going to get on out of here. If I need to clear anything else up, summarize, let me know. And I'm glitching. So can someone just type something in so I know y'all ready for the 3 question? Okay. So Lola says solution, gratitude, optimism helps to stay positive. Try your best to strengthen your prefrontal cortex. Try to shut the 2 amygdalas down. Yes, I can summarize. So Think Positive is the 39th principle of real leadership in chronological order. It's there because people don't think positive. The problem, the main reason why people can't think positive is because of negativity bias. The brain is hardwired for negativity bias because back in the day, you needed it because the amygdala had to search for threats on the day-to-day basis. We've long since passed that time, but the brain is still hardwired for negativity bias. And in order for you to start to learn how to think positive, you have to have a regulated emotion center. That means that you have to regulate the amygdala and then the other parts of the limbic system, but the amygdala is the one that's causing all the problems. And in order for you to do that, when you're presented with negativity, first of all, you can't go looking for the threat. You don't wake up looking for the threat because there isn't one. People are the threat. So just know that it's 6 billion unaccountable people in the world that don't know how to use their brain. They're the threat. So don't go looking for today's threat. You wake up wired for positivity. So you are focused on increasing the strength of your prefrontal cortex. Regulate your emotional center by breathing. You're going to reframe any negativity that comes to you by having 2 positive ways to look at that situation. And then you're going to close the reward loop by taking that information and putting it in the hippocampus. So your objective every day is to think positive all day long, which is going to override negativity, but you need a think positive neural pathway in order for that to happen. And so that happens by breathing, regulating the amygdala. So when threats show up, real threats, the prefrontal cortex takes over, handles the actual threats, and then goes back to business as usual. So you make your day where you are constantly growing, learning, and developing so that there isn't time for the amygdala to jump in. The saying is the idle mind is the devil's workshop, and I'm saying the idle mind is the amygdala's playground because it's going to play with your ass all day long. That's what's actually going to take place. So let me know if you understand. Okay, so the real leader brain as a train, and it's up top, the train brain, and here we go. So the brain as a train, the engine is the prefrontal cortex. The engine is the driver or decision making, planning, and goal setting. So just like the train can't move without the engine, your life direction depends on the choices and the strategies formed in your prefrontal cortex. The tracks, those are the neural pathways. The tracks represent neural pathways built by repeated habits and experiences. Trains move smoothly when tracks are well laid. Similarly, your thoughts flow easily along strengthened circuits through neuroplasticity. The cars, so those are the brain regions. Each train carries different cargo: memories, emotions, sensory input, and learned skills. The hippocampus car carries memories, the amygdala car carries emotional baggage, and the basal ganglia car carries habits. The conductor, it's the executive function. The conductor ensures coordination and order. In the brain, executive functions organize tasks, they shift attention, and they keep everything running on time. Without the conductor, chaos takes over. That means the amygdala is taking over. That's no braino. The passengers are your thoughts and your emotions. So the passengers constantly board and leave and move between cars. These represent your thoughts, emotions, and impulses. And sometimes it's noisy and sometimes it's calm. Leadership on of the self means knowing which passengers to listen to. So if you think about the thoughts and everything that's taking place, it's your responsibility to determine who you're going to listen to. So as you consume content, have conversations with people growing forward, it's your responsibility to say, does this benefit my brain? Is my prefrontal cortex going to benefit from this interaction, or my amygdala? Which one is going to get stronger? Because it's all, when you're dealing with people, it's always going to be one or the other. They're either strengthening your prefrontal cortex or they're strengthening your amygdala. And then next and finally is the destination, and that's the goals and the vision. A train is always headed somewhere. Your goals, vision, and values set the destination. So if the engine is strong, the tracks are aligned, and the conductor is attentive, the brain train stays on course. So here's Dr. Donna's Real Leader perspective. Your brain is a train. The engine is your choices. The tracks are your habits, and the destination is your vision. Real leaders don't just ride the train, they lay the tracks for others to follow. And that's what I have said. 2 levels up. I am calming Lala and Amy down so that when you all get to this level of self-actualization, I can say, oh, I already made that pathway for y'all. I'm ahead. Just go ahead and follow this path. You're going to be good. This is what you need to do. Get your Tibetan music together, because you're about to have to listen to that for a minute to calm them down completely. But it'll be simpler for you because you'll already be using a breathing app, so you will have less dysregulation to contend with. Okay, so my 3 questions. Wow, I'm catching that train. I'm telling you, let's do this. Okay, so the 3 questions for you all today are: what did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what conversations did you have yesterday about the brain with someone? What did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what was your brain conversation yesterday? Brain Train, that would make a great children's book. I'm sure it would, Kevin. I'm sure it would. As soon as we have an elementary school teacher that is still teaching, learn how to use their brain, they can write that book. Because can you imagine? Here is the brain train. Here is the hippocampus. All the people are coming. You can start. They were like, brain train, brain train. It will work. And see what happens when you use ChatGPT correctly. Think about how much we have been learning since I decided I'm going to just check out chat and see what's happening. Everybody kept saying it's bad, it's taking over, it's cheating, and all that. It was negative, 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 negative. And I have had nothing but positive, positive, positive experiences. I even asked Chat the other day about gentle parenting, because we went in a couple houses and saw it happening. And Chat told me everything that it encompasses. And what we actually have are people doing permissive parenting, making it seem like it's gentle parenting, because gentle parenting still has the accountability and consequences attached to it. People are not doing that part. So they actually are doing permissive parenting, and they're calling it gentle parenting, but it's not. So again, if you're thinking ... brain or a thinking emoji, so I know that you are thinking. You got to wire your brain to do that because I can't see y'all. And with the glitching happening in YouTube on a daily basis, I need to know if I have to go on YouTube on my tablet to see what's taking place. Thank you. You'll get it when I will keep reminding you until it becomes a habit in the basal ganglia. So think. I asked you a question. I'm thinking. What did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what brain conversation did you have yesterday? And part of the reason why I'm telling you to start having brain conversations is because people around you need to understand that they need to start using their brain too. They actually need to consciously do it. And you're telling yourself and them, I'm having brain conversations with you because if you want to interact with me, it's going to need to benefit my brain. I'm not interacting with you and all you're going to do is try to hijack my amygdala. I don't want that exchange. Nola said, I learned about myself that I need to think more positive. Yes, ma'am. Lola said, my conversation yesterday was being flexible. I learned today how to calm down the amygdala, and I'm about to stay in the prefrontal cortex train. Yes, ma'am, on the prefrontal cortex train. Nola said, I learned negativity bias is a top factor for why people can't think positive. It is the number one reason. Hijack the amygdalas. And the amygdala is wired for negativity. So it's going to automatically prioritize negativity. There's a threat. There's a threat. Damn water in Bangladesh in a well at somebody's house got a parasite in it. I knew it. I knew the water was bad. That's why I drink bottled water. I tell you, I got a filter system, of osmosis, and all that. Osmosis sales are going to go up. And I would also caution you to think about this. Whenever you hear something on the news, follow the money and ask yourself, who stands to benefit for this atrocity? So let's play the water parasite out. It's on American news to talk about people with wells, because we still have people here in Las Vegas with wells. So now it's a parasite, but the Brita water filter or John's Osmosis Water Company can come in and get rid of this parasite for you. They got a flushing system through all it, and Lou's Plumber can come and flush out all your pipes. So you hear about this story in Bangladesh and they got a parasite, and the news now has 3 different options for you. And now you got parasite testers. And now here you go. We had this whole thing, and people still have carbon monoxide detectors in their house. It was a big thing when we first moved here. And how often do we hear about people dying from carbon monoxide poison in their house now that everybody's got those carbon monoxide things in their house? It's rare, but everybody has them in their house. You have all this threat. So everybody needs a ring alarm now. Everybody's got, hey, step away. You are being recorded. And now theft is still at the exact same level. We watch people steal the packages off of people's porches through the ring alarm. And the law is, if it ain't over $1,000, we're not prosecuting. So just follow the money with the negativity bias and ask yourself the next time you hear something, who stands to benefit from this financially? Kevin said, today learned that positive thinking isn't the first natural act. That is correct. Noah said, we talked about the brain yesterday, but I'm trying to remember what we talked about. We had a conversation about the athletes need to have, I actually talked about it at the beginning. Yes, you came up with, that's what I was about to say, manufactured rumination. All right, Lola, have a great day if you're still here or if you're gone. And so Nola came up with the fact of manufactured rumination. And so here's what I will say as we end the live today. Think positive. Think positive. It's going to take, you're going to have to create this neural pathway. And if it's there, you're going to have to strengthen it every day. So every time you experience something negative, you need to do 2 positives for that thing that's negative. You have to create your own positive neural pathway for thinking. You have to do it neurologically because no one else is going to do it for you. People are going to say, be motivated. All you got to do is be motivated. The fuck motivation got to do? I did not mention motivation for think positive. Because how are you going to be motivated if you've been told that the water in Bangladesh is bad? How's that going to happen? And it's not. I'm just using that as a hypothetical because that's how insane some of this shit sounds when people start really getting hyper and upset about it. And it's just that designed for you to stay negative. So you will not have a strong prefrontal cortex. That is the objective of negative thinking. don't strengthen the prefrontal cortex. Because if you have a strong prefrontal cortex, you will say, hey, the brain train sounds like a good elementary school or children's book. You will say, why are the people studying the brain negative? Shouldn't they be? At what point should they switch to, can't half of them focus on disease brain and the other, good morning, Sean, and the other half of neuroscientists focus on how to make the brain the best it could be? Why they all focused on the disease brain and the problems with the brain still? Doesn't make any sense, because negativity bias is all around us. That's the only answer. Even the people that are supposed to be positive are negative. Why? Because they have hijacked amygdalas too. All you have to do is wait for something that somebody actually cares about to go left, and you will find out how hijacked their amygdala actually is. And so that is why I'm listening to Tibetan music, because I can't afford to ever have my amygdala hijacked, not even for a second. No matter what is taking place, I got to remain calm, because I'm the person that's saying, with a strong prefrontal cortex, you could be a bad mofo. So I don't get to have a hijacked amygdala anymore. Is this shit hard as hell? Yeah, because I'm human. We got 6 billion adults popping off. And I got to be like, I got to hear Tibetan monk music. Kevin said, myself, spoke with my high school classmate about wiring his thoughts for positive thinking, was shocked about today's live topic. There you go. That's synchronicity. And then Nola, and part of the reason why today is the topic, because I thought yesterday was Monday. I didn't realize that today was Wednesday, so I would have been doing Wire Wednesday. But thinking positive still goes in line with Wire Wednesday. So synchronicity, Kevin, because I got my days mixed up. Nola said the half idea makes sense. Like they said, they aren't recognizing their own negativity bias. Exactly. So that's the issue. That's the big giant gap that Dr. Donna has to close, because the people whose job this actually is to study the brain ain't studying this half of the brain. They just keep saying, yeah, prefrontal cortex, it's important, it's important. They're using their prefrontal cortex to try to find out about the disease brain. But if you start looking for positivity, then and stop looking for how can you wire your brain away from this, then that will happen. It's like, oh, people have ADHD. Well, let's find some medication for them, some manufactured neurotransmitters to get the GABAs down and back in line. Or wire the brain so that the GABAs get back in line without the pharmaceutical drugs and this without the side effects. Let's see if we can do that. And Nola and I had this discussion. So if anybody is listening, Big Pharma, because y'all the ops, as soon as y'all hear your names, y'all got somebody tagged in, you can just turn into a supplement vitamin company. So going to CVS, instead of picking up your prescription for whatever, you could just pick up some ginseng. You can pick up some turmeric. So you all can still stay in business. We're not saying y'all need to be in business, but we are saying that you can turn it into different types of vitamins and different types of actual supplements that don't cheat, but that just enhance everything that's happening in the body. So we're not saying go out of business. We're just saying change your business model to something that doesn't create side effects and more illnesses in the future. So we could actually live healthier. Oh, but Dr. Donna, what about all the natural resources and everything else? When everybody is using their 860 billion synaptic connections, trillion synaptic connections, you're going to be thinking at a higher level. And that's going to allow you to actually deal with global warming and hunger and everything else. Way back in 2016, I was already seeing people working with alternative ways to grow food inside of shipping containers and everything else, and water, using the atmospheric pressure from the earth to use that water to water the plants and things like that. So it is in the work. It's just not highly publicized, and it's just not highly funded at this point. But those things can happen when people start using their 86 billion neurons to create those synaptic connections. So I'm thinking positive that this can happen in my lifetime. I believe can makes the impossible possible. That's why it's one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And that's why I wake up every day, because getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning is not fun every day. Doing this work behind the scenes and then going about my day. I have my own things personally that I have to contend with day in and day out. Dealing with the BA is not something that is a pleasurable experience for me, but it is a necessary path to my overall objective. And so, yeah, I have all of those things happening too, but I have to think positive. Everything has a lesson and a blessing. Blessings come disguised as problems and shit shows and everything else. But if you look at it and say, okay, let me reframe this. What lesson can I extrapolate from this situation? and then go forth with that. I was having a discussion with Nola this morning. I found out a new concept, and that's what Thinking Thursday is going to be about. But if I don't stop talking to my negative immediate family, we don't get to where we are today. I don't get to day 669 up alive because I would still be trying to be Dee for them and all that that encompassed when that was a futile mission. And so, no, I didn't sign up for it. And so I exited the chat. And now we're over here and I got brain t-shirts on. And I'm living my life like it's golden. That's how it's happening. We're living, using my brain like it is the most valuable resource in the world to me because it actually is. So with that being said, I believe it was a great, effective live. You now have the fire and wire or strengthening for your positive neural pathway, and you can start to combat all this negativity and start to get rid of it and say, does this benefit my brain? And if it doesn't, don't do it. If your brain is not going to benefit from it, then the rest of your body is not going to benefit from it. So don't consume it. Don't consume it through your eyes, your ears, or ingest it through your mouth. Say that doesn't benefit my brain. I'm good. That's no braino. So y'all can keep that bullshit and make that a highlight too. Okay, so God willing, higher power, and the universe. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, safe space, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a brain-tastic day. Take care.